Bitcoin is starting to challenge the dominance of the US dollar. Normally, I hold back personal opinions to focus on facts, but honestly, it's becoming harder to ignore the possibility that Bitcoin could become the global reserve currency, surpassing all others. It's already the top performing asset of 2024 and the last 10 years with an average annual return of 102%. If you had invested just a year ago, your money would have doubled. Now, with public companies steadily increasing their Bitcoin holdings, we're entering a phase with both massive opportunities and major risks, if you know what to look for. That's why it's crucial we explore both the bullish and bearish arguments for Bitcoin's value, understand the risks every investor should consider, and look at what experts believe Bitcoin could be worth in the near future. Because if their predictions come true, it'll be shocking. If you value breaking news updates like this one, I'd really appreciate if you hit the like button or subscribe to the channel. I know it sounds silly, but it helps more than you think. As a little thank you, now let's talk about Bitcoin's price. Our financial system is flawed. While the S&P 500 has delivered an average 10% annual return since the 1920s, the money supply has also grown by about 10% every year. This is the problem Bitcoin aims to solve. It has already outpaced money supply growth and is expected to continue. Since its 2009 debut during the financial crisis, Bitcoin has gradually gained traction with both retail and corporate investors, increasing over 25,000% since 2015. To give you some context, that's a return 100x greater than the S&P 500. Bitcoin has a fixed cap of 21 million coins. About 1.1 million are still left to be mined, meaning 95% are already in circulation. As demand increases, limited supply drives prices higher. Though Bitcoin's price has surged by over 20 million% since launch, it's not unusual to see 50-90% drops before recovering and climbing again. What does this mean for regular people? How can you use this to make money? First, we need to understand supply and demand. Here's a surprising fact. While 62% of adults own stocks and 65% own homes, only 14% own Bitcoin. So who's buying? Recently, it's been institutions and ETFs aggressively acquiring Bitcoin. MicroStrategy holds 3% of the total supply. Tesla bought in during 2021. BlackRock's ETF is one of the fastest growing funds ever. Hedge funds are getting involved. Even the US government holds billions in Bitcoin, and several other countries now hold it as well. Some nations are exploring adding Bitcoin to their reserves to strengthen their economies or back their own currencies. In total, 263 entities hold Bitcoin on their balance sheets, and 9 countries, including China, have begun accumulating it. Interest is growing fast. 65% of investors say they plan to invest in digital assets, up from just 16%. Half of all financial advisors now say they'll recommend crypto investments to clients within a year. Retail investors bring excitement to the market, while institutions provide stability and capital. When compared to other assets over the last decade, Bitcoin's outperformance is striking. Inflation averaged 2.65%. The dollar lost 26% of its value. Home prices doubled. Gold rose 181%. The S&P 500 grew 200%. $1,000 0 cents investment 10 years ago would be worth nearly $400,000 0 cents today. One user on Twitter shared this. I bought my house in April 2023 for $500,000 0 cents, which was 22.5 BTC. Today, it's worth $575,000 0 cents, but only 5.3 BTC. My home value rose 15% in dollars, but fell 76% in Bitcoin. This is why more advisors suggest clients invest 2% of their portfolio in crypto. Some even suggest allocating 10-14%. Still, despite predictions of Bitcoin reaching $1 million, 0 cents, $5 million, 0 cents, or even $10 million, 0 cents, there are major risks. If you don't manage those, you could lose everything. So, Paul, talk to us about managing everything. Interestingly, Fidelity found that adding a small amount of Bitcoin to a traditional portfolio boosts returns without increasing risk. BlackRock agrees. It could even replace bonds in some portfolios. That's why I've chosen to diversify and use the Gemini credit card, which lets you earn Bitcoin on every purchase. Up to 4% on transportation, 3% on dining, 2% on groceries, and 1% on everything else with no annual fee. In fact, rewards earned and held for a year have appreciated an average of 176%. It's a simple way to gain exposure without actively trading. Just use your card as usual. The Gemini World Elite MasterCard comes in 4 stylish metal finishes: black, silver, rose gold, and Bitcoin orange. You can check your eligibility with no credit score impact at gemini.com/gr. Sam Scott's like me? This is no joke. I just find this so funny, and it's real. Gemini.com/gr. Gemini.com/gr. Plus, get $200 0 cents in Bitcoin when you spend $3,000 0 cents in the first 90 days. Now let's talk about risks. Warren Buffett argues Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. It doesn't generate income or produce anything. You're just betting someone else will pay more later. He insists the government would never let private currencies like Berkshire Bucks replace the US dollar. However, in recent years, the White House has acknowledged Bitcoin as a significant innovation. Even though Charlie Munger once called it rat poison and compared it to trading literal garbage, critics have started changing their minds. Nobel Prize-winning economists have predicted Bitcoin could become worthless. Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan slammed it as criminal-friendly, yet now offers it to clients. Critics often mention that only 1.86% of wallets hold most of the supply, but most of those are custodial wallets holding Bitcoin on behalf of others. Former skeptics like billionaire Ray Dalio now call Bitcoin one hell of an invention. Larry Fink of BlackRock once claimed it was for money laundering. Now he calls it a legitimate financial tool. Experts now predict wild future prices. $100 0 cents K to $200 0 cents K in 1-3 years. Robert Kiyosaki predicts $300 0 cents K as a conservative estimate and $1,500,000 0 cents in a bull case. Cathie Wood projects $2,400,000 0 cents. Survey platforms suggest $600 0 cents K. $100 0 cents K is more realistic. By 2035, some believe it could hit $1 0 cents, 1.5 million, with Michael Saylor projecting $2 million, $100,000 0 cents. The boldest forecasts estimate $10 million 0 cents, arguing that every past store of value has increased in supply while Bitcoin is capped. If by 2050, Bitcoin were to handle 10% of international trade and 5% of domestic transactions, its price could hit $3 million 0 cents. Still, Bitcoin is risky. It drops when markets crash. During the US tariff crisis in April, stocks fell 25%. Bitcoin dropped 30%. That means in a recession, Bitcoin could also tumble. That means that by the time the technology has come up and taken off its wrapper, Bitcoin also tumbled. But here's the upside. When people are skeptical and cautious, there's more potential growth ahead. If everyone were already all in, we'd be in a bubble with nowhere left to go but down. So how do you avoid losing money? First, don't let overconfidence ruin your portfolio. Studies show people often attribute their success to skill, not luck, and make riskier bets as a result. Second, beware your emotions. Hope turns into greed, then fear, then that's when bad decisions happen. And third, watch out for get-rich-quick promises. Since 2016, I've seen people make life-changing money and then lose it all. The only investors who consistently win, they buy and hold. They invest only what they can afford to lose and don't let emotions get involved. That's why I regularly invest a small amount in a Bitcoin ETF, regardless of the current price. If it goes up, great. If it crashes, it won't ruin my life. I accept it could one day be worth $10 million 0 cents or just $1 0 cents. I'm in it for the long term. One last thing, don't chase the hype and don't sell out of fear. Anytime I've rushed into a decision, I've made mistakes. My best investments come from calm, consistent, emotion-free choices. Right now, Bitcoin's at $116,000, 0 cents, and up 5% today. But again, stay focused, stick to your plan, and whatever you do, like and subscribe if you found this helpful. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, drop a comment below. I'll try to reply to as many as I can.